everybody, and welcome back. I was going to use this as almost kind of like a motivational Monday. My posts, or my videos rather, will be posted on Fridays. And to all of you who are subscribing and watching these videos, I want to say thank you before I go on right now. I really, really, truly appreciate it. Thank you for all the likes, the shares, subscribes, and hopefully we can keep this going here and spread my message of no more pockets, choose real to anybody out there who might need to hear my message. So thank you to all of you. The second of my 4 foundations, as I've been talking about this, is face fear. And it's funny because I recently met someone here in Austin, where my husband and I are, who had asked me about how I got started sharing my message of no more pockets. And I thought, wow, that ties in perfectly with overcome, face fears, and move through them. So I'd like to share that with all of you. First of all, I've always kind of looked at fear as an acronym that I came across years and years ago, and it said face everything and rise. And I think it comes from my experiences as a young girl when I was in gymnastics. I've shared that on my website with many, and for those of you who don't know, I was a gymnast growing up, a competitive gymnast. And the fear part, and just a small part of this ties in with the fact that every time I was in the gym, I was having to overcome fear because I was always falling off the bars. And my coach was, it had a tremendous impact on my life. I think of him to this day and what he taught me about fear, because oftentimes when I would get up pretending to be hurt, he would call me out and say, "You're not hurt, you're afraid. Get back up on the bars." So I was always falling off the bars and always getting right back up. It was what was expected of me. It was what my coach told me to do, and so I did it. With regards to how fear moves into my story, or sharing my story, I was a yoga instructor. I had been teaching yoga for 25 plus years. And I was teaching in a high school in my town. And I had about 50 students in front of me. And one of them asked about my hand. And I said, actually, I didn't say anything. I kept teaching. I pretended I didn't hear him. Because as he asked me, "What happened to your hand?" I was called back. I was in a high school teaching, and I was called back to that vulnerability and that angst that being in junior high and high school, I think, causes everyone. Maybe I feel safe in assuming that for everybody. So I ignored him at first, and then another student asked, and then another student asked. So I said, well, I was born with it, and I thought it would end there. So let's progress forward in this story. They continued to ask. They wanted more questions answered, and pretty soon they sat down and we had a discussion. And before I know it, I was for the first time sharing no more pockets, although I didn't have a name for it yet. But I was sweating. I felt so uncomfortable because the questions just kept coming and they wanted more stories. And yet at one point, what I noticed was that I was looking out at their faces and I was seeing emotions on these children, on these young teenagers. And it was an emotion almost like, she's sharing my story. I know this. I know these feelings. And it kept me going because I felt accepted in my story. It was so funny because in all the years I spent hiding, thinking I was not accepted, now I'm out teaching, my hand is out, I'm doing my thing, I'm being questioned on it, and for the first time ever, I felt true acceptance. It was in the emotions I think they could feel. My fear and my voice was quivering, the more stories they wanted, and yet the more vulnerable and I felt, the more brave I felt at the same time. It was very, very strange. And afterwards, some of the students came up to me, waited until after class had ended and came up to me and said, I know what you're what you were talking about. I don't have a birth difference, but I'm struggling with my own insecurities and hiding so many truths of my own in a myriad of ways. And I remember the principal coming up to me afterwards, who had come in to watch the last bit of class, had come up to me and said, "You're going to be a speaker. This is what you're meant to do." And I was like, oh, hell no. No way. Not in a million years. This was too much. It was too, it was emotions I hadn't been feeling for a long time. It was being back in the setting of high schools and junior highs. And yet he said, maybe that's why you're meant to do this. It was your emotions and your vulnerability that connected you with these kids. And I remember driving home and feeling that fear of thinking, God, I hope no one calls me to do this again, or how would this ever happen again? Because I didn't have time to be really afraid. I was more vulnerable. But that principal told another principal. And that principal told a local business community. And then there started to be more and more opportunities. And that first one, in a way, being the easiest because it happened so organically, I was scared, but I was vulnerable, but I hadn't had time to really prepare, so it was kind of off the cuff, and it was very real. The opportunities that followed, I just kept thinking, how and why is this happening? Because this is what I never wanted in my life. I didn't want to be called out. I didn't want to be challenged to be vulnerable. I didn't want to keep encountering this fear of oh no, am I going to get up there and be accepted for who I am? And yet I found in all of these, every reason I had hidden my hand in the first place, feeling shamed or feeling like I was not going to be accepted or hiding the truth of who I am, nothing compared to the sense of freedom I felt when I was in front of these people sharing my story, and I saw the understanding, I saw the shaking of heads, I saw the connection. I felt the connection that comes when we move through those things that are really scaring us, right? And really making us feel vulnerable. And all those reasons that we thought were going to disconnect us from others. That there was not going to be an understanding, a sympathy, a sense of compassion or empathy. I was wrong. And this is what I want to share with all of you. In my 57 years, I would never lead you astray or tell you anything other than what I have experienced to be my truth. And that is that for every reason you are hiding the truth of who you are, thinking it's going to make you feel more disconnected, not worthy of love and belonging, I'm here to tell you the exact opposite is true. Fear through the years now, since the time I was a little girl, I've learned, I do distinguish it now. If I look at it this way, if it's not going to kill me, it's going to help me grow. It's like that best friend who's telling you, they'll call you out on everything. That's what fear is to me. It's that whisper in my ear saying, it's time to grow and it's time to change. This isn't going to kill you. It's going to make you stronger. And in the meantime, it's going to connect you, and you are going to help others by sharing your story. So the fear part of this and overcoming the fear is to maybe just open up your mind to taking a different viewpoint of what fear can do for you and what it can do for others if you step into it and share your story, share your vulnerabilities, share everything that you are afraid to share, thinking it's going to make you feel separate from others. And I promise you the opposite will be true. It's going to connect you in a bigger, deeper, more profound way to one another, to all of us, and to each other than we can even begin to imagine. I hope this helps. For all of you, again, who are watching this, if it's resonating and you're staying here and you're taking this in, thank you so much. And I hope that in my messages here, more than anything, that you find your courage to make your own declaration. Find your own declaration, similar to No More Pockets, that's going to instill and infuse you with a sense of courage to move through your past fears and experiences and to choose real. Reveal, embrace, and live your truth. Thanks so much, everybody. I hope to see you back here soon. Bye-bye.